Okay, now that we have all the tools and components that we need for the installation, we want to go ahead and start prepping the tire and rim to insert and inflate the tire balls. And our first step is our rim prep, and this is one of the most important steps of the installation process. And what we're doing is we are looking for any burrs or nicks or scratches on the wheel that could actually harm the tire balls. And in the past, most rim makers have not had to take too many precautions in eliminating these sort of things because nothing is inside the cavity of the tire. So what we do is we take sandpaper and we just feel around the edge of the rim for any burrs or scratches. Now this particular rim does not have very many at all. I have found a few small pieces of weld spatter that I have eliminated with the tire or with the sandpaper. So once you completely go over your rim and remove all burrs or scratches, you're ready to go on to the next step. In getting everything prepped and ready to go is actually getting your tire ball cells to the proper pressure to be able to install them inside of the tire. Now, what we do is we inflate the tire balls to a preset pressure so that when you put, in this particular case, there's going to be 14 tire balls in the tire. When you put the 14-1 inside the tire, it's going to be nice and snug in there. What you have to do is you have to air the tire balls up to about 3 psi. So what we're doing, we have all the tire balls hooked up to the multi-port inflator, and I am just going to gradually air these up to roughly 2.5 or 3 pounds. And what that's going to do is it's going to make them the perfect size to be able to insert them inside of the tire. You can just see they're all gradually filling up. So if you see, this is basically the shape that you want the ball to have when you're inserting it inside of the tire. And the reason for this is if we were to set the air pressure to the final pressure outside of the tire, we would only be able to get in about half of the tire balls by just inserting them. So what we do is we inflate them to the preset pressure, insert them, and then bring them to the final pressure, which we'll be going over in a few minutes. Now we're ready to move on to the tire lubrication process. We've supplied you with the silicone lubricant, which is to be applied all around the inside of the tire carcass, the sidewall, and the tread. And what this is going to do is going to eliminate any sort of chafing. And the simplest, easiest way to do this we've seen is that we use just a regular sponge and apply a liberal coat all the way around and just work the silicone around with the sponge inside of the tire. Once you have every piece of the inner part of the tire covered with the silicone, you're ready to move on to the next step, which will be lubing the tire. Now that we have the tire carcass lubricated, we need to lubricate the tire balls. And the simple and most effective way that we found to do this is to just use a heavy-duty garbage bag. And we put, in this particular case, we're putting 14 tire balls inside the tire. So I've got 13 balls in there. I'm going to put the last one in the bag. And we roughly pour between 2 to 3 ounces of silicone in the bag, and we're just going to shake it up. And we've seen that this liberally and uniformly covers the tire balls, so that it doesn't take very long at all to lube. Now once you do this a couple of times with a couple of tires, you can put in less lube because the lubrication will actually stay inside of the bag and you won't have to use as much silicone. So now that we've got the tire balls lubed, we're ready to move on to the tire ball insertion.